Danilo.
Where's Grandpa?
He's dead.
On a Vista Airlines flight from the Los Angeles International Airport to Los Cabos, passengers are welcomed aboard, including Ava, the daughter of a prominent politician, her boyfriend Jed, and his friend Kyle. A young girl named Rosa is also seen traveling with her grandparents. Ava is made to travel with a bodyguard. For safety reasons, her bodyguard's name is Brandon. Now, for a moment after the flight takes off, everything seems to be just fine, until the plane hits a bird which accidentally flies into one of the engines, causing it to fail, prompting a fire outbreak. Suddenly, fragments of the damaged engine propeller hits the body of the plane, causing a crack that immediately shatters the body of the plane, accompanied by massive wind which pulls numerous passengers out of their seats and into the sky. The flight is doomed even though Ava, her bodyguard, Jed, and a few others are buckled up ready for a devastating impact, one they would probably not survive. The plane descends into the Pacific Ocean, killing both pilots, along with several passengers who died from either the force of the impact or from outright drowning in the vast ocean. Kyle sustains a very deep cut during the crash. What's left of the crew watch as water gradually penetrates the remaining spaces inside the plane. The survivors find themselves trapped inside an air pocket of the rear of the fuselage, as the plane sinks to a rock based underwater. It is now clear that Rosa's grandpa did not make it. The survivors begin to panic except for Brandon, who immediately takes charge, telling the survivors that they must stay put and wait for rescue. Having hit a rock base underwater, Brandon reassures them that they will be okay. He asks Danilo to find 2 emergency tanks of oxygen in the pilot cabin, but it turns out that they are both empty. Rosa's grandma states that earlier on, she had seen a man with an oxygen tank on board the plane, so Brandon is forced to find and retrieve the oxygen tank from the front of the submerged plane. Unknown to Brandon, on his way back, a tiger shark attacks him through an opening on the side of the fuselage. He manages to escape back to meet the survivors, but is shortly dragged back underwater by the shark. Out of fear, the survivors retreat deep into the pilot's cabin, where Kyle, whose arm is severely injured in the crash, is treated by Nana, Rosa's grandma, who is a former army nurse. Meanwhile, a rescue team arrives by helicopter to search for the missing plane, but are unable to find any debris at first. The remaining survivors engage in a heated argument over what their next cause of action would be. Jed is incredibly scared while Kyle is freaking out. They figure that they should do what Brandon would have done. Jed explains that eventually the structural integrity of the fuselage will not hold and this will crush them inside. Ava reasons that they have some time, maybe 3 or 4 hours of air left before they run out. At this moment, the wrecked plane slides further down the rock face, dragging them deeper into the darker depth of the ocean before coming to rest on the edge of a cliff leading into the dark abyss. Ava walks slowly, observing that the floor is much steeper than before. Everyone looks up to Ava now as they contemplate if they should continue waiting or take a bold but dangerous swim to the surface of the ocean. When Ava suggests that they need a diversion, Rosa immediately explains that sharks are afraid of air bubbles, so they reason that they can scare the sharks away with bubbles from their inflatable life vest. Kyle restates that he saw a couple of guys on the plane who had scuba tanks. Jed is terrified of swimming to the surface because it's a long way up without air. Meanwhile, the rescue helicopter finally spots debris from the plane on the surface of the water, and 2 divers are immediately sent down to investigate the wreckage. After a long dive into the ocean, they encounter the wrecked plane but are yet to find any survivors. Ava gives some reassuring words to Rosa, encouraging her to be brave amidst their dangerous predicament. Shortly after, the survivors spot one of the divers, but unfortunately he is attacked by the tiger shark from behind while trying to comprehend their warning signal. The survivors conclude that they are doomed as one diver gets missing and the other gets eaten alive by the shark. Now they are going to have to find their own way out. The pilot on board the helicopter leave, but not without asking for more helicopters to be sent. While they prepare to go in search of the second diver, Jed slips and falls into the water and is immediately attacked by the tiger shark, which bites of his leg below the knee, after which they pull him to safety. While receiving treatment from Nana, Jed's life flashes before his eyes. He goes over some pleasant memories with Ava, after which Ava goes deep inside the plane in search of the scuba gear. Ava finds the bag containing the gear and retrieves it from the baggage area underneath the plane as the survivors prepare to swim. Jed goes into shock and dies. Ava is in tears but has to be brave for the sake of all of them. Kyle explains that he is too afraid to swim to the surface. He recounts a moment in his childhood where he dove to the deep end of a pool and was too scared to resurface. Eventually, Ava convinces Kyle to leave the plane with them. While prepping to leave the plane, the damaged cockpit breaks off slowly as they slide down. The cockpit breaks off completely, falling into the dark canyon below the cliff. It's now or never. Nana tells Ava to look after Rosa, explaining that she would do anything for Rosa, but she won't be leaving the plane as she would only slow them down. Nana bids an emotional farewell to Rosa. As the remaining survivors swim through the submerged fuselage, they encounter the shark swimming towards them. Ava uses the bubbles from their vest to deter the shark from advancing closer, then it suddenly disappears. Ava and Rosa find the missing diver on their way out. Apparently having been killed by the shark and use his oxygen tank for air, Kyle goes into panic mode as the water rises. He takes one last breath of air before being violently attacked by the shark, allowing the rest of the survivors to exit the plane. Ava gives the only 2 air tanks to Danilo and Rosa. She inflates their life vest and they quickly float to the surface right before the tiger shark comes face to face with Ava, who bravely keeps her composure. She begins to swim as fast as she can without oxygen as the wreckage slides off the cliff and into the dark abyss. She manages to exit through the hole, presumably with the shark still inside the wreckage. With a dramatic tone playing, Ava is seen struggling to get to the surface, but unfortunately runs out of oxygen. However, her life vest carries her up anyway, and she miraculously awakens on the surface, surrounded by nothing but the vast expanse of the ocean. She finds Rosa's stuffed animal floating in the water, but the other survivors are nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, the rescue helicopter arrives, and a line is extended to her to propel her upwards to the helicopter. On board, she finds Danilo and Rosa. The pilot asks if there's anybody else. Ava says no. Rosa inquires about her grandma, but Ava embraces her and they cry together, suggesting that Nana did not make it. Ava hands over Rosa's stuffed animal to her, but instead, she tosses it back into the ocean as a tribute to her grandparents and the other dead passengers, as the helicopter flies off to safety, informing Ava's dad that she survived the plane crash. This is Falcon Recaps. Thanks for watching.